So the other methods, the second method is we call Lineweaver-Burk plot. It is also called as double reciprocal plot. The reason is we are going to see now. So let me start from the MM equation. V is equal to Vm into S by Km plus S. Why we call double reciprocal? So we are going to take a reciprocal of this particular MM equation in both sides. So that's why we call this a double reciprocal plot. So just take the reciprocal of this. So just take 1 by V. So if I'm take a reciprocal of this side, right hand side, so it's become Km divided by Vm S plus S divided by Vm S. So so here the S get cancelled. So you will get 1 by V is equal to Km divided by Vm. So 1 by S plus 1 by Vm. So if you look at this, so this is like a straight line equation. This is equal to y. This is m. This is x plus this is c. So if I draw the graph, so the graph, so if I, so this is so it's a straight line equation again, and your y-axis is nothing but 1 by v, your x-axis is 1 by s, and the slope of this line is equivalent to Km by Vm, whereas your y-intercept is equal to 1 by Vm. So this is the most widely used method when you calculate the Km and Vm. So by drawing this graph, you can very well calculate the Km and Vm method. So this is the second method. Now we will see third method. The third method is called Hanes-Woolf plot. Hanes-Woolf plot. So this is, we can start from the double reciprocal method. So that is 1 by V is equal to Km by Vm 1 by S plus 1 by Vm. So this is the end of the double reciprocal. So just to say, they modify the double reciprocal in order to create a Hanes-Woolf plot. So what you do is, this one you multiply it with S, so that gives S by V is equal to Km by Vm into 1 by S, so into S plus 1 by V into S. So this S get cancelled. So you will get S by V is equal to Km by Vm plus 1 by Vm into S. So again, so this is nothing but y is equal to, so you have to identify the variable in order to find out the x. Among these, the right hand side, the only variable is s. So this is going to be the x. So obviously this part is going to be m plus this part is going to be c. If I draw the graph, So the graph again is a straight line, and your x-axis or y-axis is going to be S by V. Your x-axis is going to be only simply S. So the slope of this line is going to be 1 by Vm, and the x-intercept is going to be Km by Vm. Actually, if you look at this Hanes-Woolf and LB plot, that is Lineweaver-Burk plot, both is actually opposite to each other. In Lineweaver-Burk plot, the y-intercept is 1 by Vm, whereas the slope is Km by Vm. Here, just opposite to that. So this is the Hanes-Woolf plot. So obviously we have seen 4 different methods to calculate the Km and Vm, whereas one method is a non-linear method which is not in use. So only the other 3 methods are actually used to calculate the Km and Vm. Now we are going to see how to solve the problem. A problem based on constant determination. So this is the experimental data that we get from the enzymatic reactions. So what we get here, so this is the S value, the substrate at a different substrate concentration, they calculate what is the V. So from this experimental data, we are supposed to calculate the 2 things. One is we calculate constants. So whenever I say constant, it's both Km and Vm. And they ask you to calculate the K2 value, and also they have provided the total enzyme concentration value. Now let me see how to solve this particular problem. So in this we can use any of the method which we discussed in the previous session, but today for the example purpose I am going to use a LB plot, which is the most commonly used method. So whenever I say LB plot, what I have to draw? I have to draw a graph between 1 by V versus 1 by S. So let me calculate the values first. So this is the S value. This is given in say the S value is given in gram per liter and gram per liter minute. So the units are fine. So we don't need to convert any unit. So let me start. So first we will calculate the 1 by S. So let me solve. So 1 divided by this S value. So just time copy and paste. So similarly I am going to calculate 1 by V, again equal to 1 divided by this. So I am copying. So now we calculated the 1 by S and 1 by V value. Now let me draw the graph. So I am using an Excel sheet here. So let me do the X scattering for these 2 values. So I am drawing as a non-linear curve. So this is the y-axis is not mentioned. The y-axis is nothing but 1 by V, whereas x-axis is nothing but your 1 by S value, right? Let me, okay. So assuming that is 1 by, so this is 1 by V as in y-axis. I am not able to mention that. Anyway, this y-axis is 1 by V and x-axis is 1 by S. Now this is a non-linear in Excel sheet, but what we need to do is we need to draw a linear graph. So what I am doing is I am adding a trend line to this. So I am also asked to display the equation. I am not set intercept because intercept is y-intercept. So I am not doing that. So just I try to display the straight line equation in the graph. So the straight line equation, so I am writing for you. So from this is maybe small in size. So just the slope. The slope, what is the slope? We know that is a Km divided by Vm. So that is equal to, from this graph, is 5.6772. Whereas your intercept, the C that is 1 by Vm, so that is equivalent to 0.5802. So from this we can calculate Vm. So how to calculate Vm? Just to take a reciprocal of 1 by Vm. So here the reciprocal 1 by this one, so you will get 1.7. So now Vm is 1.7, whereas Km by Vm is 5.6. So now from this value we calculate the Km, because already we know the Vm. So just to calculate Km from this, so just to multiply 5.6772 into the Vm value, that is 1.7. So that is what we are going to do in order to calculate Km. So Km is equal to the value of this into the value of Vm. So you will get Km and Vm. So this is the first data that asked by the problem, that is calculate constant. Now we need to calculate K2. How to calculate K2? So from the previous equation session, we know that Vm is equal to K2 into E0. So now the E0 value is given here, that is 0.015. So the E0 value is given as 0.015. Second is the gram per liter, so there is no need to change the unit. So if I want to calculate K2, so that is K2 is equal to nothing but Vm divided by E0. So how I calculate? From this graph. So from this equation we are calculating K2 is equal to Vm by K0. So we are going to do that. So what is the Vm value? The Vm value is this divided by the Km E0 value is this. So the K2 is equal to 114.90297. Now let me write the units. Only numbers doesn't have a meaning, so we have to write the unit for everything, starting from Vm, Km and K2. So what is the unit of Vm? So unit of V is the same for Vm. So here the unit is gram per liter minute. So what is the unit of Km? The unit of Km is equal and same like a substrate concentration. Here is gram per liter. So what is the unit of K2? So that we need to calculate based on the division. So Vm unit is gram per liter minute, whereas V0 unit is gram per liter. So the K2 unit is 1 per minute. That is a minute inverse. That is what the K2 unit. So this is the value of K2. So this is how you can solve a problem. So we can find out K2, Km and Vm and K2 values. This is not the only way. This is the LB plot method. So we can say we use the same data. You can practice for ADHAFT and you can calculate using a Hanes-Woolf method. There is a small variation in the values, but that is acceptable. So you can try. Thank you.